Hello friends, welcome back to the channel Codify, and in this video we are going to talk about the coding convention series, the source code organization part 4. Okay, so in this video we will be talking about the declaration, placement, initialization, class and interface declarations. Okay, what is coding conventions and what are the guidelines and who created this, when it is created? This is already uh, I already talked about that in the first video of this coding convention series, so you can refer it there. Okay, so now let's start here. uh, the declaration per line means one declaration per line is recommended since it encourages the commenting. What that mean is, okay, let's say we are going to declare some variables that we require. So it is saying, okay, don't declare something like this. uh, it is saying don't declare that. This is not a good idea. Why? Because if we declare like this, we don't have place to give some comment about the each variables. If we declare this in one line, separate line, int height and roll number. So here we can provide some idea. Although, see, one comment you can say, okay, you can say, hey, this variable itself is, saying that it's a age, it's a height, it's a roll number. That is correct. But in program, there could be, many possibilities. Like, we can say, where does the roll number is coming from? Okay, the common convention looks like, okay, it's about a student and they're talking about its age, height and roll number. But there is something, the programmer want to say, programmer want to, describe that, okay, the roll number will be assigned after this process, or roll number is, will be populated from some services. Okay, so some kind of comment. Okay, maybe there is some rule based on the age. Okay, that rule can also be commented out. Okay, some rules like, okay, uh, here we can say, mm, it's a student age. Although, just I'm talking hypothetically, it's a student age which will be counted from, let's say, 5, something like that. This is just for an example. So this kind of comment we can easily, we have an option to provide. Okay, so that's why commenting in the, declaring a variable in per declaration per line. Okay, declaration per line is encouraged. Don't declare in same line multiple variables. Okay, what is the next is saying, don't declare variable and method in one line at all. What does it mean? It is trying to say, okay, are we going to create function int, let's say something, class, and what then? So not here, class, like, okay, section or section. And can we declare here, like, uh, int calculate or something? Can we do this? Yes, we can do this, but don't do this. Okay, we can do this, but don't do this. This is not encouraged. Okay, not a good idea at all. This is not encouraged, or maybe this is, we can say, this is forcefully said that, okay, don't do this. Not a good idea at all. What the next line is that, don't declare different type of declaration in same line. Okay, Although we declare same type of variables. Okay, if I am, let me remove this. If I want to uh, declare, can I declare int and string in the same line? Let's say my intention is int x, int y, but the another thing is, let's say, email would be a string, but is it going to, uh, is it a string? No, it is considered as int, believe me. Let me assign some value to int. Let me assign some, let me give it first static. Let me assign some string to it. Okay, is it allowing me? No. What is it saying? Required type is int, provided is string. So the fact is that in the, even we do multiple declaration in same line, which is not encouraged, but we can do it by the same type, of the same type, of the same type int. If we have taken, the type that is int, so all the declaration that we are doing in same line, that would be of one type. But even in that it is said that okay, don't declare different type of declaration. Although this is int, but it is said that okay, don't declare like this. One is int, another is array. So first of all, we don't have to declare multiple declaration in one single line. So not required to mention that okay, you should not define this multiple type of declaration. One is int, another is array of int. That is discarded in the first statement only. Okay, what is next? For loop is an exception of it. What does it mean? When we do, for loop, here we declare int I is equal to 0 I, or because the declaration here happens in, it can happen in here, in the, in this statement only, means we can declare multiple value, uh, I is equal to 0 comma j is equal to 10, something like that, I less than 10 and I plus plus. This is valid statement. So the rule for declaring declaring single line, single statement or single declaration per line is not forced to, or we have an exception in the for loop. We can declare this way if it is required. Okay. Okay, so now the next section is placement. Placement is about put declaration at the beginning of the block. Don't wait for it to be used. It can make other developer difficult to read the code. Avoid local declaration that can hide the higher level declaration. Um, it is talking about, let's say, mm, if we are implementing a method called calculate. So here three things, just I'm thinking like okay, at least three things is required. First number, second number, and the third number is result. Okay, so the one thing what we can do, uh, here calculation logic is goes. Okay, let's say here initialization of the values is happening. Okay, here some validation happening, and then here some calculation logic going on. Okay, calculation logic. Now actually we required result variable here in the calculation logic. Maybe calculation logic is till here, calculation logic. Okay, So maybe the variable result we need here, but it is recommended to say, it is recommended to declare on top of the block, the top of the block. Okay, not here. Here we can initialize this, initialize this, whatever the calculation logic is going on. This is for initialization error. Okay, so this will actually what happens, and why I understand why is this being said, like declare the variable when it is on the top of the block. You understand, the block means a block of code which starts from one curly brace to another curly brace. Let's say this is one block. Okay, and if I say if, so this is another block, else is another block. Okay, so a curly brace creates a block of code. So if you know, uh, if we're writing some further logic here, let's say here we are writing some processing logic. Okay, some processing or some else condition logic, else condition logic. Okay, and we need some variable here, we need some variable here also. There are some, you know, some line of code, some line of code. Okay, so let's say it is saying, okay, don't declare here. Okay, it is saying declare the variable on the top of the block. Okay, on the top of the block, here in the block. Okay, although we required x here, but it is saying declare in the block of top of the block. Okay, this is top of the block. Okay, why is this saying is like, okay, let's say to, it is fact, the main thing is that the guide, the purpose of the guidelines is to write good quality of code, and more importantly readable code, the code that can be maintained so that it can last longer. So definitely the code written, the entire software is not written by one person. Okay, multiple person works on the same code base. So let's say today you write a code and tomorrow I have to read it, or maybe today I write some code and which tomorrow or after 1 year or 2 years you have to work on the same method. So what happens? Reading, you will start reading, you will try to understand the code base, and you will start reading it from top of it. Okay, so if we write the code which is well defined, will follow a well defined structure. Okay, variables are defined at a proper place, logic goes to the proper place, then it is easy to understand, and it gives uh, what I can say, the even the assumption, you know, developer can, you know, easily go through you know, dive into the code easily. Okay, it can, the developer can also assume like, okay, if this is declared here, where I can find it, where it is coming from, where it is going. So that's why we need to follow the guideline. And this is one thing, like, okay, even by looking into that, you know, if I come here and start reading this, I can think of, okay, here there are two numbers and the result will come in into this. As a developer I can understand this. Okay, even if I come to this else block and I can say, okay, this variable is defined here, something goes here, I don't need to go further here, there, and inside of this. So, and also it will, if you don't, if we don't follow the proper structure code, it can be, you know, corrupted and difficult to maintain. So that is one thing. What is that? A wide local declaration that can hide the higher level declaration. Okay, here one thing I have to mention is that let's say there is one variable is declare called max. Okay, just let's say static and max. So it is saying, okay, don't declare uh, that variable again int max. That will also reduce the readability or confusion. It will increase the confusion. Okay, so don't do this. Try to find out the appropriate name. Okay, obviously, if the max is defined in the top of that, there would be different context for this and the different context for this. So we can find out proper name for this. Okay, here would be it would be pure max, and here I can say the max result or the max after calculation. Okay, something like that. Okay, the next section is saying initialization. It's saying try to initialize the local variable where they are declared. The only reason not to initialize a variable where it is declared is if the initial value depends on some computation occurring first. So what does it mean is, let me let me remove these. So here what is saying, try to declare the local variables where it is, try to initialize the variables where it is declared. So like here I have to I have initialized the value 0. Okay, let's say if I'm getting the value from some API or some further method, so I can call that method. Let's say here there is a method called private initialize first number. Okay, sorry, private int initialize first number. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, initialize first number. So it is saying initialize this method here. I mean initialize this value wherever the first number we declare, and as soon as we declare we can initialize it. We don't need to initialize here, declare here, and some after uh, some logic, or we think that okay, here I am going to use it, here I'm going to use it, so here I should now initialize this local variable. Okay, no. So wherever we are declaring it, we should initialize it. The thing is that sometime initialization, we can't do initialization before uh, checking some validation, checking some rules. There are sometimes we can't do the initialization before applying some logic or before performing some calculation. Let's say, okay, so let's say what to do with initialization of this second number if the first number itself is not valid. I'm just thinking, uh, if there is first number, if there is some validation logic is going to applied on first number, okay, or something other logic is there to check. So in that case we can define, um, we can initialize the value later. Let's say here if we say if first number is one greater than 1, then we can initialize the second number is equal to whatever, second number is equal to 100, if that is required in your business logic, because there is no does not require to call another method or do some processing. Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, here is saying the only reason not to initialize variables when it declares if it is if its initial value depends on some computation occurring first. The same thing, yeah. Okay, now that class and interface declaration. So what is it saying? When coding Java classes and interface, the following formatting, we need to follow a format. The following format rule should be followed. Okay. So what is then saying? First rule is that no space between a method name and the parenthesis starting its parameter list. So here it is saying, let's remove these. Here it is saying, we have a class, main class, and we have a method called public method, void method, main method. So it is saying like there should not be a no space between the method and the parameter and the parenthesis. The parenthesis, like about this method name and this parenthesis. Okay, it should not be like this. It should be like this. We don't need to, you know, we should not place any space between the name and the parenthesis. Okay, if we are creating a new method called, public static void calculate, so we should not give an space here. We should it should be stick to that name. Okay. Open braces. Open brace appears at the end of the same line as the declaration statement. As the declaration statement, what is it saying? When we are declaring the method, the open bracket, this open curly brace should be start from here. Okay, in this line only, not like this. You remember, you might have seen, you might have some, but nowadays it is because most of us or the entire industry writing the code in some sort of IDE like IntelliJ Eclipse, so it's automatically uh, create the variable, I mean create this curly braces in this format. Otherwise I remember when some people used to write in the code in older IDE or notepad. I have seen them some code like this and they like it, and maybe other programming language uh, recommended to do this, but in Java we have to, the guideline says okay, start the curly brace from in the same line where the method we are declaring. Okay. Okay, so now what is next? Closing brace. Start a line by itself intending to match it. So that simple means is, let's say here our calculation logic uh, done. Okay. I am I have given the method name, method type is void, and I'm trying to return something. Okay, so here I'm saying 5 plus 5. Okay, some calculation is done here. Oh my god, end result is equal to 5 plus 5. Okay, so we don't need to close it here. We should close it here. It should get closed here, matching to this line. Okay, matching to this line, not even like this. Okay, that is a bad practice. Okay, you don't close here. In all that purpose is to write the clean code, readable code, and follow one convention that entire industry follow. So there should not be your own convention, your own convention. So you can do it for your own project only, the project that you are writing, because maybe you are intended to read and write that only, because the code you are writing in the organization will be read by another organization or another set of developer, maybe in another country. So follow the industry standard. Okay, the another thing is that corresponding opening statement. Okay, except when it is null. Okay, so one thing is that this rule for closing that curly braces, only exception we have when we don't have anything, to return, then we can do like this. Okay, mostly you can see this in the constructor. You see this in the constructor method like this. So when you don't have to return anything, then we can close that in the same line. Okay. Okay. So I think we are good for this video now. I'll continue making the same video on the further topic of this source code management, source code organization on coding convention. Okay, stay connected and thank you.